It is. Yeah, I don't know anything about racing. This is true. You're right. You're in the wrong show.
Yeah.
You're watching the wrong show if you want to hear like super engineer stuff.
Okay.
And honorable mention, Alpine, because hello, French Revolution.
That French Revolution's got a strong hold on Moni.
Yeah, it does, and Alpine is now basically stopped racing in protest of her absence.
Yep.
They tapped out right in the first lap this weekend. They're done.
I think at this point, maybe they should give Moni a call to see if she can do something about that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, one lap in, they're both done. French Revolution canceled.
Big time canceled. As you can see today,
Shout out to Evan, of course.
Today I'm on the bandwagon. I'm on the bandwagon hard today, representing the best team in the MLS now.
I mean, I think they're still technically the worst, but yeah,
they're championship right here, championship right now. They're truthfully, they're making it look easy.
Yeah,
it's one of the top teams in the league, right? So they made it look pretty easy last night.
Yep.
It's fun to watch. You can't
watch. No, for sure. It's an exciting times there.
It's funny because
and actually, if you follow our Inter Miami coverage, you might actually see Moni somewhere.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, our network does a good job. Austin Robillard, right? Yeah, he does a good job of covering Inter Miami, so you might want to check him out on the 5 Reasons Sports. So shout out to Austin and what he does with Inter Miami. But yeah,
shout out to Evan in the
Evan, we got some cool stuff coming up after the break. So and we'll talk about that next week. But Evan, shout out, brother. We'll talk. I gotta hit you up offline. The Hungarian Grand Prix, Max won. Good night. See you later.
Yeah, that's it. Good show, Jazz. Hit all your marks. Lasted longer than Alpine. I think we're done here.
How so? What this is number 7 in a row, 8 in a row, something like that for him.
It's 7 for him. It's 12 for Red Bull, which is a record.
Right. Right. Oh, 12. By the way, how many races have we had this year?
12. Yeah, 12. Yeah. It feels like it's getting worse. This was.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, who's gonna? I mean, honestly, you know what's funny? To me, like at this point, it's got to be McLaren's going to end up winning a race, right? Yeah,
it's going to be no one. I think that's the reality of it.
It's unbelievable what he's
doing. We need and the other half of it too is it's just like there's no reliability issues on this car. Like that's what you need for someone. You need like, oh man, his thing is broken or something. It just doesn't happen.
I mean, he's having casual conversations.
Yep.
He's pitting, and when he comes out, he's still got a 13-second lead over Lando. Towards the end.
No, he had a 30. Well, he did by 30 something seconds.
When he came back out, it was still at like 13, which is, and then he took off, and that was that. But he was.
He checked out. It was over on the. After he got in first on the first turn, it was game over, man.
That was it. By the way, biggest disappointment. I'm gonna go straight to the biggest disappointment for me was definitely Lewis Hamilton this time. It's just sad, man. Obviously, he sits on pole, which doesn't really matter, but he just had such a terrible start and ends up losing 4 places and doesn't really factor in the decision really throughout the race. But it was just I know you'll have a little more to say about that, but it was a little bit disappointing for me, and I'm sure for Lewis as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what and we've seen this from Leclerc a few times this year too. there are other cars that are able to put together that one lap where they're fat. Like Leclerc's been on pole a few times. He's been right up, and then in the race, it's just not even close. And part of that is we talk about the reliability of the Red Bull. It was hot in Hungary, and basically every other car had overheating issues, but the Red Bull. So that everyone else was coasting, lifting off, and the Red Bull's just like full go, no issues. So that's another thing just on their race pace. Like a lot of times the fastest cars in qualifying, they don't have the race pace or there's a compromise. The Red Bull appears to have no compromise there. So
yeah.
I don't know if Hamilton's the biggest disappointment or not, but yeah, I mean it just wasn't there, like you said. He gave it away in the first corner. It didn't appear to matter. In fact, when they did the first pit stop where they were where they cycle through and he kind of went for the undercut, and then he was like, how the hell are they 10 seconds ahead of me now? It's because it just didn't have the pace. It was really only towards the end of the last stint where they finally had some pace in that car, but it just wasn't. And that they said that's when they like the fuel was light enough and they were in clear enough air where they stopped overheating. So I mean, these other cars are all flawed, and the Red Bull appears to have no flaws.
It's unbelievable. I mean, Sergio had finally had a nice race.
You know what? No, I'm sorry. We're not doing this. He, again, qualifies way down the field. It has his recovery race into third. Everyone's like, wow, I think he won driver of the day, too. And I'm like, dude, he's taking a car that Max is winning by 45 seconds with, qualifying like 12th. And then I forget what he was this week. But again, it was way below where he should have been.
I think,
and he's passing a bunch of cars in the race. And he's getting praised on it.
I think he qualified 9th or not 11th because I know Sainz was 11th.
Yeah, he was. Hold on, I'm pulling. He was 9th. You're right. You're correct. And he's getting credit for taking the fastest.
Better than that.
Yeah, he's getting credit for taking the fastest car on the grid and passing a bunch of slow cars in the race after qualifying poorly.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And it's every race with this stuff. And he's an embarrassment. He's an embarrassment. He should not be. How did he finish? He finished behind a McLaren in a car that Max won by more than 30 seconds with.
What was it? It was how long? Let me open that up because I can't see it, so it's too small for me. Yeah.
So he won by 33 seconds.
33 seconds, right?
And then, but Checo's not even finishing second. I mean, if you finish 37, 38 seconds behind your teammate, that's not good.
Well, yeah, that's because the Papaya Power is back, baby.
I mean, look,
come on, what's going on there with Lando and McLaren, and even
Piastri is there too. Yeah, no, it is
surprising, and but surprising in a good way. What are your thoughts on McLaren as a whole? What they're doing, like what kind of upgrades are they bringing that's making them so much better right now?
It's a good question. I don't have a good answer because this is. I mean, it's all of a sudden it's
surprising.
Yeah, no, it's very surprising. Remember, this is the same season where in the first race they're having to pit every 3 or 4 laps to top off the hydraulic fluid because it was leaking everywhere.
Right.
I mean, that's it's the same car ostensibly. So yeah, I don't know where it's come from the last couple of weeks. But yeah, no, qualifying high, has the race pace. I do think in races it appears to be good on all of the tire compounds. So that has definitely been an advantage. They appear to run well on different compounds. But yeah, where this pace all of a sudden came from, I mean, 2 races ago they were behind Alpine in the constructors. So it's kind of come out of nowhere. The unfortunate thing is the Red Bull is just so far off the field that
they brought their upgrades too.
Yeah, no, I mean the gap appears to be widening. And actually, this last weekend, Hungary is one where I thought, there's not a big DRS straight. This could be one where it's more competitive, and it was not.
Not at all.
And as Evan called out, if Spa's wet, maybe. Because if it's not, it's supposed to be. By the way, we'll get to that in a bit. But if it's not, I mean, it's all straights. It's a power circuit, and Red Bull. I mean, that is.
It's over.
That's setting up as a bloodbath. Yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, again, another poor finish by the Ferraris as well.
Yeah. So what is your? I mean, it feels like it's just goofball hour over there. I don't know. I don't know if you have thoughts on this. Just like everything is just going wrong over there.
Well, obviously, I mean, first of all, Leclerc finished in seventh because of his penalty.
Yeah, but he sped in the pit lane. Like, I mean, that's
Well,
not
he's an idiot. Like as soon as I saw it, I go, "What do you? Why? What is the purpose of doing that? Why would you speed in the pit lane? You know better. Like that's just a dumb move. It's a dumb error, right? It's not like something where by accident, a race incident, something happened on the track. No, that is a dumb error, and you put yourself in that position, and now you know it's 2 points, and I know 2 points, and it doesn't really matter at this point, but it matters. You know what I mean? And now you're dropping a spot because you made a stupid error, and I just don't know if that's that they have their head up their ass or what's going on. I mean, Carlos started. I mean, he didn't even get out of Q2, right? So he ends up qualifying in 11th. Leclerc qualified, I think it was fifth or sixth. Ends up losing a spot anyways. They're just they. I don't know what the hell is going on with them right now.
That's the qualifying order.
Sixth, which obviously that was a surprise that Zhou Guan Yu was up there, but
yeah, and he took care of business in the first corner.
Yeah, he did.
Wiped out half the field.
Yeah, ended up all the way in the back of the grid.
Well, he took out both Alpines on his way. So
unbelievable. I don't know what I mean. 2 races ago, they're competitive in qualifying. They're up there. Leclerc, has race pace. Sainz looks good. And now it looks like they can't. I mean, they've got no pace. They're still having issues with tire degradation. Obviously, I don't know what's going on with them. It's frustrating. It's frustrating as hell to see that team that they should be so much better than they are. They had a moment where Leclerc finished P2. I think it was where was it that he finished? It's not Silverstone. I know he finished in second place like 4 races ago, right? It was like
no, they've had some decent finishes. It feels like they're in a funk now.
They are, and before, why they brought some upgrades. They're supposed to be, the second quickest team on the grid, and they are not right now. They're not. They don't look good, right? They're probably the 4th best team right now, considering how hot McLaren is, right? If you take McLaren out of the picture, yeah, they're in the top 3.
Yeah, just looking at the constructors.
Because I mean, we can talk about how bad Aston Martin's been.
Yeah,
too.
they've gone, and we talked about that at the beginning of the year. Was when you steal someone's design, how do you then improve upon it? And for them, the answer is they're not, and
They're not at all.
They're dropping down the field.
I mean, Alonso's obviously. I mean, Stroll, forget about it. He's just not a very good driver. But Alonso is he's doing what he can with a machine that hasn't brought any legitimate upgrades. But I mean, yeah, Ferrari will probably overtake him the next race or two for that 3rd position. But the truth is that it's not because Ferrari's doing that much better. It's just because Aston Martin is that much worse.
Yeah, and hopefully the break that's coming up now will be good for Ferrari to kind of mentally reset, because they're just, they've been all over the place. A lot of tension within the team. It feels.
Well, you can hear it in the radio calls, right?
Yeah.
You can hear. I mean, they're still having issues with their strategies. What plan are we going to go to? This whole plan A and plan C and this, that, and the other. And Carlos had to say no. I'm staying out when he started on the softs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And he actually had a little bit of pace in those softs. He was able to, to be okay with them. But we're talking about a team that wanted him to come in and box earlier, and he was able to get a little bit more out of the tires. And so you got to be on the same page, and they're not.
Yeah, and then they used him to try and hold up Checo, which if you think about the overall strategy makes sense, because if he could have maybe passed Leclerc at that point, but then Checo will easily get within 5 seconds of Leclerc, and then you lose that spot. So I think they were thinking if Carlos can hold Checo outside of 5 seconds, then they can get both those places. Obviously ends up passing them both. But that was the thinking there. It was because I know they talked about that a bit on the broadcast. Like, what are they doing? And it's like the reason he's sitting outside 5 seconds is if he's outside 5 seconds and he's holding up Checo, then Checo's outside 5 seconds. If he comes right up to Leclerc, Checo's going to get right behind him, and he'll also be within 5 seconds, and so they'll both end up in front of Leclerc.
Well,
so it made
that
sense.
ended up happening with George Russell as well. Right?
Yeah.
At one point, he was behind 5 seconds, and he was holding off, and Sainz was holding off Russell as well.
Right.
They just have to figure it out. Maybe this break will help them out. I think that.
Well, the thing with break, it's more of a mental break because they're not allowed to really work on the car or anything, but they just need. I think I think one of the things we're probably going to see more as they keep adding races, just like there's a mental fatigue here of just once it starts going bad, there's no like time to recover.
And now there's 2 races here in Spa, right? So they're coming back to this one.
Well, there's a sprint race.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay.
Wait, what do you mean? What I'm talking about?
I thought no, not what you're talking about. What the graphic said on the tires.
That's what Pirelli titled their thing. That wasn't me.
More confusion. Well,
you knew that thing
you
was
know what?
this.
I have a question. Are they going to make up Imola or not?
No, it's just canceled. It's just canceled. Yeah, they're not making it up.
Okay, gotcha. So, I guess we can.
Yeah, well, I mean, we looked at
our racing results. By the way, you had Hamilton, Lando, and Albon. You got Albon right. I mean, you got Lando right. Excuse me.
We didn't do predictions.
We didn't do it. I'm looking at the British.
We didn't have a show.
Yeah, we didn't have a show. Yeah,
we didn't have a show.
You're right. Yeah, I was.
You were dealing with things, and I was overloaded at work, and it just wasn't going to happen. So I actually, but in my head, I had Max, then Lando, then Checo. That was my top 3.
Ah, shocker.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Hamilton on pole. I had that nailed. Double Alpine DNF in the first lap. That was my guess.
Yeah.
My surprise pick.
My surprise pick was Zhou in the top 5 in qualifying.
Oh, nice. Nailed it. Yeah, so we didn't have predictions, but I would say, I mean, you kind of just looking through kind of the way that the race went, in terms of surprises. I think there was more surprises probably in qualifying than the race, like you said. Zhao getting up in there, and then Sainz and Russell not getting out of Q1 and Q2.
Right.
Probably your biggest surprises there. This is the qualifying stuff. But yeah, when the race settles down, it's like as fast as the Red Bull is in qualifying, because it's generally the fastest car there. It's just on another level when you get in the race.
It really is. It's unbelievable. The Circuit de Spa Francorchamps.
Yeah. Let's go with that. Your guess is as good as mine, man. Your guess is as good as mine.
Circuit de Spa Francorchamps. The Belgian Grand Prix is here. It's the last race before this summer break, and then we get it cracking in a couple weeks again. But this is obviously a very historic race. This is a nice one. This is a fun
this is the drivers. This is the driver's favorite circuit. It is the longest track on the calendar. It's the driver's favorite circuit, and notoriously has bad weather. We're gonna get all those this week. Yeah,
looks like it's gonna be rain all 3 days.
It's gonna be rain Saturday. It looks like it could potentially be a washout. So this is a sprint weekend.
Which you'll be happy if they wash out the sprint because you don't really care for that. So.
Yeah, but the sprints, but then I think Friday is going to be a mess.
Yeah.
Saturday's going to be a mess. Sunday's going to be a mess. There's your calendar for the weekend. Yeah.
Your race. You've got the.
Just a reminder on the format. Friday is the qualifying that's listed on the 28th is for the race. Right. And the sprint shootout on Saturday morning is the qualifying for the sprint, which is Saturday mid-morning.
Oh, boy. And then you got the race on Sunday.
Yeah, but again, with the weather being as spotty as it looks, Saturday especially is 90% chance of rain, and we've had issues at this track before. They had that farcical, make it go 2 laps to make it official thing a couple of years ago.
Remember that?
There's been bad accidents at this circuit as well in bad weather. So F3 driver again a couple of years ago died in an accident in the first corner. So we'll see if they get this weekend in. To be honest, it's not looking great weather-wise. And this is it's the first time they're having a sprint race here too. So they don't really have the option of just canceling sessions because they're all kind of count for something.
They all have it looks like it's going to be an intermediate and wets kind of weekend.
it looks like it will be. Although for the quote 2 races, as we were talking about earlier from Pirelli, it is the middle compounds here.
Well, you know what that means? It's Fernando Alonso time.
Why is that? Was that a joke that went over my head?
That was he's great on the wet tires, so they suck anyways. Aston Martin's terrible right now.
Well, but I mean, hopefully they get it in, obviously, but also hopefully the conditions are bad enough where it causes some kind of a
where it mixes.
Let's just be blunt. Where one of the Red Bulls does not win. That is the goal. That is the goal. It doesn't matter. It just one of the Red Bulls does not win is the goal for everyone this weekend. So
wishful thinking.
So hopefully there's enough of bad weather where that happens. So don't even care who wins, just someone else.
If the race holds up, who do you want to who are you taking a look at? What team? What drivers are you keeping an eye on?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it's just see the Mercedes here. It appears to be improving, and they do have the best driver. That's not, you can debate him or Max, but he's definitely someone that can capitalize. So they'll be interesting. And one of their drivers will be, the other one sucks, but there's that. And then, the Ferraris, man. Where are we at on this? Where are we at?
Oh man, where are we at? Yeah, I think that for me, obviously, I got to see them do a little bit better, but it's just at some point they're gonna have to figure it out, man. They're wasting their talent there that they have there with just boneheaded stuff. I mean, Leclerc it's a boneheaded mistake, so that's not something you can you can blame on anybody else but him, but just everything else, man, strategy wise and how they're performing is just it's disappointing. I also want to keep an eye on this Sergio, this Checo Perez, Red Bull.
What do you think Ricardo's coming for him?
Ricardo thing, man. Like, does it have legs, man?
I don't think it has legs for this.
Anything is possible.
I don't think it has legs for this season because it just wouldn't make sense. I do think if Ricardo, because obviously he wasn't good last week and we didn't really talk about him, but it's his first just hopping in the car. I do think by the end of the season or, in a month. That's a whole other.
Yeah, right.
Honda keep helping us. Wink. He'll stay in that car. Is what's going on there. But I think if he shows some pace, I mean, Checo's not under contract after the year, and I think there's every possibility that is a Max Ricardo driver pairing next year.
Interesting.
At this point, because they don't have him in there to drive an AlphaTauri. Let's be real. And the way Checo
for a reason,
and we can all clap. Wow, great recovery, Checo. Like he's in the fastest car. He's finishing third. He's finishing fourth. He's finishing fifth.
You can tell right now. I mean, it's his first race, right? Obviously, but you can tell that Ricardo was just not as confident, certain areas of the track yet to really push it or to.
He also got hit in the first corner. He was actually the nail to Zhao's hammer on that one.
Right. So I mean, it's he's got to gain some confidence in that car if he can, because we all know that AlphaTauri is not great anyways. But if he can gain a little bit of confidence, he might have some more pace. He might finish a little bit better. So and if that happens, then that could definitely be an issue for Red Bull or it could be a blessing. Who knows, right?
Well, no, I mean, I don't think I think the fact that they haven't extended Checo yet. Kind of they're looking around, and they should be because it's embarrassing. It is like I know everyone wants to complain. Look, he's on the podium.
Yeah,
but his car is so much faster, and he's not even able to finish second. He's not qualifying well at all, and it's the same crap after every race. It's like, yeah, great recovery. I just need to be more consistent. I was like, man, like this is it's all under the radar a bit because they're so far in front. It's not going to matter. They're going to win the drivers. They're going to win the constructors.
Right.
They could probably win the constructors just off of Max's points.
Oh,
so it's not going to matter in that sense. But Red Bull also has to be thinking ahead. Like these things do tend to get more competitive over time. And, you know, are they going to be able to, if they want to win the constructors next year, even if they have the fastest car, if you're throwing away race results, if one of the other teams is competitive and can win races and challenge, and they're getting 2 drivers up there,
right.
That's how you lose a constructors championship. And they have no loyalty to Checo. Obviously, he's only been there a year. So,
yeah,
you know, I think that's a very real possibility for next year at this point.
I agree.
Which is also why I think they got, you know, De Vries the hell out of there ASAP, because they want to give Ricciardo as much time as they can in the car.
So kind of warm up, as they say.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about this before we give our predictions. But I know I mentioned it earlier about Alpine and their engine having no power. What's going on with Alpine? Like, how could they?
Well, they can't improve the engine. That's the problem. So these engine specs are locked. So that's where there's a controversy now on whether or not they should be allowed. And actually, of all people, Christian Horner came out and said, yeah, we need to have some way to equalize engines. Because one of the problems, we talked about this generally, and there's a few things going on around cost caps now, but the problem with cost caps are if you start behind, you can't spend to catch up either. And because you'll hit the cost cap. So there are some exceptions, like facilities are like some of the teams are allowed to basically have cap exceptions to upgrade their facilities because they're so old.
Right.
And then, like, you know, obviously Mercedes, Red Bull have modern facilities, wind tunnels and all that. And some of these other teams don't. They're like, well, if we try to upgrade that, that's a whole budget. Right. And so they're getting exceptions for that. So in the same context, should Alpine get an exemption for the shitty Renault engine they're running that has no power? And, you know, the thinking, if they allow it, would be, you know, they have to calculate how much of a horsepower deficit they're at and allow them to catch up.
That's crazy.
Which I don't know is going to happen. In fact, I would be surprised if it does. I think it's easier for Christian Horner to say, oh yeah, let them catch up engine-wise when they're so far up the grid, doesn't matter. You could put a stronger engine in the Alpine. It's not going to make them competitive with the Red Bulls, but it'll make them more competitive with McLaren, Mercedes, Aston Martin, Ferrari. And so those are the teams I'll be like, yeah, no, we're not doing that.
Right.
And it is one team on the grid obviously using those engines. They're the only ones using them. So, but that is one of their big problems. And I mean, this weekend on a power circuit, we're really going to see it.
You can probably just see, you're just going to have to see them continuously having issues.
Well, that's the thing. They're technically not allowed to upgrade the engines till the new spec comes in 2026. So they're supposed to just use those engines.
Right.
It's one of the parts that they don't upgrade over the course of this contract. That's where the thing is. They're like, well, we can't even fix the problem we have. Gotcha. And that's also one of the reasons Red Bull is so dominant now. And we haven't seen anything like this since the I believe it was the 80s when McLaren won 11 races in a row, is because this had happened 10 years ago. By now, Ferrari and McLaren were the big money teams at that time, would have stolen the design, copied it, rebuilt an entirely new car, and showed up to the next race with it.
Right.
And they would have spent more money than the entire cost cap to do that, but it would have happened in a week.
And now they can't do that.
Now they can't even spend, so even when they know what the problems are, they can't even fix them because it costs money. Right. And that's why you're kind of almost getting this baked-in advantage. Whoever got the design right, like, for example, Mercedes went with that no side pod solution, which they've now abandoned. If that had worked, everyone else would have been screwed, because by the time they design and develop that and get it working, like, we're talking about 3 or 4 years, because they can only do it incrementally.
Right.
So it is one of the problems with the cost cap, is it does bake in, you know, whoever got it right at the beginning kind of gets to maintain that advantage for a long time, because you can't spend to catch up.
That's why they've become just so dominant, this Red Bull team.
Well, yeah, they're dominant. Well, they're dominant because they designed an amazing car, and then other teams can't essentially buy their way out of to catch up, and used to be able to do that. I mean, they used to bring 2 sets of teams to the weekend because they would have like a night shift that would just work on the car all night during race weekends. Now they have curfew and you're not even allowed in there.
Wait, so has anybody violated this cost cap this year so far?
Rumors are several teams have, but they haven't done the finances yet. But that should be coming out soon. But there's all these leaked rumors that a bunch of teams have violated the cost cap.
I hope it's not Ferrari.
Well, after well, I mean, this is the thing.
What the hell have they done?
After the non-penalty last year for Red Bull, I'd be violating it.
Yeah, no shit, right?
Be like, forget this. Let's just go all the way over.
Unbelievable.
But that used to be the way that they would do rate. In fact, they'd have a car for qualifying. One of the reasons they have all these engine rules and get all these penalties for touching the car and like gearbox changes and all. They used to have two separate types of cars. They'd bring a car that would essentially explode after 5 innings or 5 laps and run it in qualifying. And they'd run it qualifying, and it would, yeah. It's all over the place.
Are you watching baseball also?
I'm not actually. I'm just vicariously living through you and your Red Sox right now.
They're struggling right now. So,
but yeah, no, they'd run a car that could last like 4 or 5 laps in qualifying.
Gotcha.
They'd run it, get on because like super insane amounts of power because it's like gonna blow.
Yeah,
and then they'd pull into the garage and then they'd have the other team come in, mechanics rebuild the entire car with it for the race and run a different car in the race, and that's how F1 used to be. So that's why there are these rules in place, these cost cap measures, because it used to be like that. You would just have 2 sets of teams, with sets of mechanics for each car, because one would work on this type, one would work on that type. Just replace parts all the time.
That's when F1 was great, though, Vish, right?
It was and it wasn't. That's extreme, but I do think I think we're seeing the other side of it now, where because I think the other thing is there's only a few teams that actually even have enough money to spend up to the cost cap. So I mean, right now it'd be nice if like Ferrari and Mercedes could just spend an infinite amount of money and put a better car out there so they could compete.
That would be nice. It would make me a lot happier. This game's about to get going too, so that's good. Anything else you want to kind of talk about there, Vish?
Nah, just hoping against hope that like, somehow someone else wins. It just must be someone else wins.
We gotta talk into existence. All right. So, what are your predictions then? What do we got for Spa?
Well, since it's me predicting and I want to talk it into existence,
Yeah.
Max first.
Oh God.
It's the reverse jinx.
Oh, I see.
I mean, am I ever right? No. So we're gonna go Max first, Checo second. Just knock it out. And I'll go Leclerc coming back, driving back for third, and then surprise is Stroll finishes ahead of Alonso.
Stroll ahead of Alonso. Okay. Of Alonso. I like that. All right.
So I'm sorry, Evan, for the new qualifying system, you're talking about the tires thing that they did last week. I think that's what he's talking about. With the they made them use the hards in Q1, the mediums in Q2, and the softs in
Oh,
Q3.
that, yeah. That's new too, right?
Yeah, they did that last week though. We would have talked about it if we had a show.
Well, it's just like what they do with the sprint shootout, right? Where they do the
okay, yeah, that's what he's talking about. Yeah, that
10 and 8 or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. What am I gonna do? I gotta go opposite of you, right? So I'm gonna go.
That's always a good way to win, though. Actually, so
I'm gonna go with it's Spa, right? So let me go with. I typically go with my team, but I'm gonna go Hamilton. Finally gets his first win of the season, first one since 2021. Okay, right?
Yeah,
2021. I'm gonna go Hamilton, Leclerc, and Max.
and your surprise is?
My surprise is going to be. I'm gonna say, since it's gonna be wet, I'm gonna say Hulkenberg in the top 5.
Wow, and that piece of crap of a car, interesting.
That's right. We saw him sit on pole in that piece of crap car. All right. So, what do you got, Evan? Let me see.
Evan's got Lando, Hamilton, Checo, and Max DNF.
I'm gonna check. I like it.
Which makes a lot more sense than your Max finishing third behind 2 cars somehow.
No, you don't worry about that. All right. You leave him alone.
De Vries is not there to knock him out anymore, right? It's got to. I guess Logan Sargent's up to it. Is he the man?
Yeah. Where's what's his face when you need him? The Canadian.
Latifi.
Latifi. Where's Latifi when you need him?
Man, Latifi is Max's best friend, not the other way around. He handed him a championship.
That's true. That's true. Oh boy. All right. Well, that's all for Spa. Should be fun to watch. I'll see if I can.
Yeah, it is a fun track. As Evan said, it is the best kind of the best track for racing. There's a lot of overtaking, but it's also not easy.
Right.
It's a difficult track. You can make mistakes there, so it should be. And if there's some weather, it should be an entertaining race, even if Max is 45 seconds up the road and the entertainment's for second place.
I'll see if I can catch some of the game at the airport or on my flight. So see if I can pop in the Wi-Fi.
The race, you mean?
I mean the race. I'm sorry.
Man, we both did it. We were just distracted. You know, we need this winter break too. It's too many races.
I'm telling you, man. It's gonna be crazy. So
man, when they come back, it's gonna be football season. So
I know. So we'll talk about distractions.
Talk about distractions.
My goodness, thank God nobody really plays on Wednesday nights, because then we'd be screwed completely. Wow. Oh, Madrid already had a free kick and everything. All right, let's go, baby. Anyways, I guess we will we'll check you guys out next Wednesday. Make sure you keep it locked here and follow us on Twitter at F1_5 reasons also. And we'll have some cool stuff coming
yeah,
up.
we're gonna, because this is break, we'll probably do some a little bit more interesting stuff on the show, because they can't even update the car. So
yeah,
have some maybe bring a guest in.
Maybe
a friend of the show.
A friend of the program.
Yeah, maybe. And we're not talking about Moni, who is, I guess, technically still a host.
Yeah, kind of. Oh, man. All right, everybody.
All right, guys. See ya.